One advantage of partnering with Google to provide email services to White Englewood students and staff is that Google continuously fixes bugs and adds useful features to our services without intervention by DE technical staff. The resulting disadvantage is that Google decides when to update the software interface, and we have no control over that. During the second half of 2011, Google released a new interface for many Google services, including email. While individuals have been able to opt into the new interface for a while, Google is likely on the verge of requiring everyone to use the new interface fairly soon. Therefore, here is a brief overview of just a few interface changes that may challenge some people. While Google has probably switched your account over to using the new interface automatically, you can temporarily switch back to the old interface if you just can't deal with the change right now. However, eventually, the old interface will no longer be available, so you should get used to the new one as soon as you possibly can. To temporarily switch to the old interface, you can click on the gear icon right here. Don't confuse it with this one up here next to your email address. That one will not work. It needs to be this one down here. And you can choose Revert to the old look temporarily. Here are a few of the other changes related to Google email that you may find useful and that confuse a few people. One of the biggest ones is that Google has radically changed the way toolbars work and different tool buttons. They have moved to an interface where you don't see as many words on the screen, but you see icons that represent what a button does. You can pretty easily find out what those do by taking the mouse cursor and floating it over the button. For example, you see I have this over the archive button right now. This is over the delete button. So while until you get used to it, it may be a little bit clumsy trying to figure out what to click on. If you're sure, again, you can just put the mouse cursor right over the icon and it will tell you what that button does. The other change that Google has made is that they only show you the buttons when they're actually useful to you. Once you get used to it, it's actually not a bad feature. Your interface is not cluttered with things that you can't use. But what that means is, as you're looking, for example, this list of messages, I can't find the delete button or the archive button because there's nothing for me to delete or archive right now. However, if I go over here and I click to select a couple of messages here, you'll see that all of a sudden, now the toolbars have appeared at the top. And some of the buttons that you may have used in the past that you found via the words, for example, here's the archive button. The archive button takes a message out of your inbox and just pushes it into all mail, sort of hides it from your view but doesn't delete it. Here's the delete button, this trash can icon. Here is the move to button, which actually takes the message out of your inbox and applies a single label to it. And here's the labels button, which allows you to apply more than one label. This button here is the report spam button. What this will actually do is delete a message, but will also report to Google that this message was unsolicited commercial email, something that most people consider spam, and they will use that to try to figure out what they classify as spam in the future. Unfortunately, one person's spam is some other person's interested email list, so that's not always 100% reliable. Other features that you might be looking for that aren't readily apparent are often found under the More menu here. See, mark as read, mark as important, etc. Notice that when I uncheck this menu went away, again because I can't delete a message until I select it. The toolbar changed. The buttons that are here, this allows you to actually select multiple messages, for example, all messages. This here refreshes your screen. So for example, if you're sitting next to somebody who sent you an email and you're waiting for it and you don't see it, oftentimes you do have to push this refresh button for Google to kind of go out and check your mailbox. And there's also a more button here. Finally, the last sort of interface button that you may be likely, or interface set of tools that you might be likely to use, are when you're actually reading a message. This looks very much like the tools that exist when you're looking at a list of messages, with one exception, and that's that this button here takes you back to your inbox and shows you a whole list of messages. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same. Some people have wondered where the forward button has gone. That really hasn't changed. It's just the wording isn't always as readily apparent. It was always sort of right down here. And again, so here's an icon. So if you wanted to reply to a message, you could click here. If you wanted to actually forward, you'd click on the triangle right next to that. And you could put things like forward, where's reply listed again, print, etc. So those are the major changes that are most likely to affect you. Just so you know, some of the new features that did come along with the interface that you might find handy are certainly the new toolbar buttons, as I already mentioned. Also, the email system interface has now been written so that if you resize your window, if you have a smaller window versus larger one, it actually uses the screen size more effectively. You don't have to do a lot of scrolling left and right. You also have the opportunity to kind of customize how much information you want to see on the screen at one time. If you want sort of a comfortable, lots of white space between your messages, you can go over here at this gear icon and choose the comfortable setting, which really only works in larger displays. If you like to see as much as you can possible jammed into one spot, you can go over and you can choose the compact setting. And finally, one of the sort of pretty powerful features that you may have found intimidating in the past, it's a little bit easier now, this interface, is the advanced search box. If you click up here, normally you could just type in there, but if you click on this arrow, you actually can go through and put in things like, I only want to see messages from a certain person or to a certain person, or with certain words, from a day ago, 2 days ago, 10 days ago, etc. This makes it a little bit easier to do some advanced searching in email. So I hope you found this useful. And of course, as always, if you have any questions about email or any other technology-related services available at Dwight Englewood, please contact the Computer Services Department by stopping by the Taub Center, emailing us at help@d-e.org, or calling extension 3826. Thank you for your time.